It's Wednesday. It's March 8th, um, 2023. I'm looking for signs of human intelligence. Not in like an intelligence community type of a way necessarily. Um, I mean, that helps, but it's through this human filter and like overall at programming and what they're putting through the television based on the fact that there's no real humans in the field any longer. Um, and knowing that I have this superposition in time and space with an incarnate human body, and this ability as a woman to create space and time and be able to explain it genetically by abstract and in actuality, fiction and diction. Um, so, and knowing that I've already created a piece that creates this super symmetric piece of time, um, it sets me apart from the rest, um, especially in places where um, there are, well, let's just say at some museum level, it's important. Um, so, um, there's this movie series that they came out with called Harry Potter. They have a character, uh, Voldemort, um, and then they have his childhood name was Tom Riddle. Again, in my story, it's just an interesting tether, I suppose, or fetter. I don't know, fettered. Um, Now, in the movie Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, there's this one scene. It goes from a private meeting with Dumbledore, the headmaster, and Harry Potter, and then the significance at looking at a memory. And then it's Dumbledore going to visit Tom Riddle as he invites him into Hogwarts. Now I find this incredibly interesting. The family member I was introduced to went by the name of Nikki, which just happened to be a male version of my name that I was born with in mirrored image of whatever. Um, and then as I'm flipping the dials this morning, I land on a piece. It's called E/I, which is educational informational, and it's these teenagers who have put together this piece of career advice for one another, which I thought was, of course, now I'm in my 40s. I still have no career since whatever I was built and born for has been horribly acted upon, and corrupted into some position that I never wanted for me or the children. And now I'm just stuck here. Um, so I'm watching, and during this piece, on comes a boy who somehow found his way into this aviation industry as an intern, and he makes this announcement of he can't be something because he was diagnosed with childhood asthma, and all of a sudden alarm bells go off, and I'm like, whoa. I went to a summer camp where they sent specific swim instructors to cross our paths while I was there. Um, One particular swimming position that was given a very specific name in order for a survival technique should the floating on one's back to get to the side of the pool move not work, and some longer swim whatever um, take place where you needed to survive for a longer time, um, and conserve energy. So I feel there was interest at some point. They knew where I was, um, having my life cross paths with what seemed like very significant people. Um, I know the Air Force sent in scoliosis testers, of their own adjudication for our file, at some point. I know that there was this presidential fitness test under the Ronald Reagan administration, which we passed for running, for breathing, for whatever. What I'm unclear about is why, when Linda took me for the physical at the healthcare provider in the area, outside of the Air Force regulated, adjudicated health professional, one of the local profession, one of the local people, why he would suddenly diagnose me with something called asthma, which I had never heard of, and then prescribe some form of inhalant with stimulant that kept me up for a short period of time, and then I never had to use it again. See, for me, I don't believe I ever had asthma. And I'm like, why would the doctor diagnose me with asthma? Now it makes sense. Were they trying to disqualify me from a career and a life that I qualified for and I much would have preferred, by some degenerate effect that's going on in New York? I'm just curious because, again, the pieces in my riddle seem to be lining up with some form of betrayal and sabotage by humanity against my person, by preventing me to get to where I needed to get for reasons outside of my current knowledge. But these little nuggets of information are being laid down. Why would a healthcare professional try to disqualify me by marking a medical file illegally, by trying to make me believe I had this asthma, but did not say it would disqualify me from a life that I would have much preferred? I mean, again, just almost like insidious little marks to try to, I don't know what, take away from the health that I was actually, the health paradigm I was actually born with. I mean, I really, I'm not understanding this underlying fight to hurt the children before they even have a chance in this area. So in this particular episode, the one with the six.
It must be one. Sir, lies here. What you are looking at are memories. In this case, pertaining to one individual, Voldemort, or as he was known then, Tom Riddle. This vial contains the most particular memory of the day I first met him. I'd like you to see it, if you would.
all the years Tom's been here, he's never once had a family visitor. There have been incidents with the other children, nasty things. Tom, you have a visitor.
How'd you do, Tom?
Don't. You're the doctor, aren't you?
No. I'm a professor.
I don't believe you. She wants me looked at. They think I'm different.
Well, perhaps they're right.
I'm not mad.
Hogwarts is not a place for mad people. Hogwarts is a school. A school of magic.
In this area, there was my grandfather. My grandfather had a very specific wish for me during my life. We used to go walking in the local area, and there was a very specific local flower here. It had a very specific name, but in biblical terms, I have to be careful that it doesn't paint the wrong portrait between the square, the triangle, the circle, the cross, and then some other symbol that I have no word for.
You can do things, can't you, Tom? Things other children can't.
I can make things move without touching them. I can make animals do what I want without training them. I can make bad things happen to people who are mean to me. I can make them hurt. If I want. Who are you?
Well, I'm like you, Tom. I'm different.
Prove it.
I think there's something in your wardrobe trying to get out, Tom.
Now, I'm going to go over to the aviation piece where he mentions this asthma because he says specific words because he's been able to interview aviation people, which in my life frame, other than some adjudicators and some swim training, some fitness test, whichever, as children around this age, might I add, and then an introduction to my family member who is Nikki. I had no idea that being diagnosed with childhood asthma could have such lifelong effects that could alter and harm my journey.
For the house. Well, here at the museum, I interview historically significant aviation pioneers or members. So I interview them for the museum archives. And it's pretty fun, you know. I get to hear a lot of cool stories from old timers about.
Now I'm watching these teenagers and they're like, what are they doing in the world? How did the teenagers when I was a teenager, what were they like? What kind of opportunities were they getting? I mean, I was in a small enclave out in Long Island for I don't know what reason, with limited exposure to a lot of different things. It wasn't like opportunity was just knocking on the door repeatedly. It wasn't like these career tracks or educational whatever was being offered. So now I'm watching for my sons because I'm like, again, the kids that I went to high school with, they were very quiet about whatever was going on for them. So how do I even look for my own children and like where are integrative features?
about, flying way back when. Well, really my entire life I've wanted to be a naval aviator, but I have asthma, so if you have childhood asthma, you're automatically ruled out being a naval aviator. You can still be an airline pilot with asthma, just as long as it's not a problem, which it isn't for me. It hasn't been a problem for years. And so I can be an airline pilot, just not in the military. One good thing about volunteering here at the museum.
So I'm in this still. Um, but this is where, like, this gets really confusing for me because where did my family member go? I mean, I specifically remember the day that we took the photo together from the Smithsonian fashion show, um, from that museum piece that was shipped to the specific location that I was in, um, where it was just, no, he was the one who was going to marry me. Um, and that I asked, well, how is that going to work? And he said that he would find me when the time was right, or when what, and he knew what was going to happen. All right. And now I'm in, everything's gone wrong, and where is my person? Why did the last 40 something years, why was it compelled by some, I don't know what, into this derangement? What happened to my assigned family member? And why did, like, I mean, there was certain expectations. There was respectful grandfather and service member who painted a very specific portrait in whatever dialect he spoke, about expectations. My other grandfather was deceased, and yet it's almost like none of what my grandfather had wished for me, like none of it was honored. I don't understand. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxies, broken. So again, I'm looking at these sci-fi and fanciful pieces of ways that they, in some, to quote My Three Sons TV show, which they air on Me TV still, they have the Miley method, MIL, oh no, Wiley method, which is interesting since there is, again, I don't know, is Miley, does he wear regalia? I mean, I call it a valise only because it's the VA for me, or from what I've been, whatever, and trying to come up with a way, a very specific way, in order to speak of somebody who's in a dress costume that they don't wear on this level of theater in my day to day. I don't know how to be respectful, put boundaries, but still verbalize what I see in a respectful way, because I don't have any verbal construct or interaction with these very serious levels of something that exists within the same time, but in such far out of the way places and hidden from my day-to-day whereabouts.